Hello, guys, and welcome back to. Are we gonna do it together? Crossing the T in history.
What class is this?
This is 11th grade.
What grade? Hi guys. Hello. I just want to know who I'm speaking to.
Does it say anything specific?
What up,
So that's any class.
Yannick? Hey, Damie. Hi, Sienna. Now I have to name all of them. Hi, Chandra. Hi, Chris.
Lee Wen.
Hi, Lee
Did
Wen.
you say Guion?
Hi, Guion. Oh, is Lee Wen in this class too? Yeah, Lee Wen.
Yeah, because she's Swiss.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, we're talking about
anyone?
social reform in the young U.S.
Tristan. I forgot Tristan.
Oh, Tristan's not in this class, actually.
Oh, just kidding.
So, social reform in the young U.S. So, how different reform movements in the U.S. Oh no, I put it on the wrong side. My bad. Ignore that hand thing. It could be like one of those YouTubers that sticks their hand over the thing. All right, second Great Awakening. In the early 1800s, traveling preachers encouraged people to embrace the Christian faith. This renewed dedication to Jesus and helped fuel the reform movement. So this is kind of the beginning of it, all right? It has this kind of spiritual beginning. They have this... the first Great Awakening we talked about was before the Revolutionary War. This is after. And basically a bunch of preachers are going out to the middle of the woods. They're talking about Jesus, and people are coming in the thousands and listening to him. And they're re-embracing the Christian faith, and it's like a revival, kind of.
Okay, but who was a famous preacher back then?
This isn't like Jonathan Edwards, no, or probably know them. They're very, but this is when the Baptists start gaining traction.
Ooh, guys, born and raised.
As a Baptist.
Born and raised as a Baptist.
Anyway, so this is going to help people renew their dedication to the Lord, and we'll see that this will create some social reform movements. And the first of these being public education. This spirit of reform is going to impact schools. In the early 1800s, there were very few children went to schools. Most children didn't, and there weren't public schools. They were all private.
Is this like Little House on the Prairie status, or we're way past Little House on the Prairie?
Way before Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, before Little House on the Prairie. So before one school.
Yeah. And so they didn't have public schools, and they weren't really seen as a big thing. Kids really learned from what they wanted from their parents was the idea. They'd stay at home. They'd learn it from there. The son would learn to do what his dad did, and maybe if you read a lot of books, you're educated, then you go to university maybe. But in general, they didn't have a school system that everyone went to. And Horace Mann is going to be the first guy that kind of says, hey, we need to have a national school system or a school system that has public school, that every kid can go to school no matter what. And it's kind of the basis of what every country has today. Every country today, most of them have a public school system.
Look at you guys getting educated, not in a public school system.
But still,
way to be different.
Still, right? You don't really have a choice to not educate your kid.
Is it illegal in Suriname? It's illegal in the United States until you're 16. You have to go to school.
Yeah.
16, 15?
Yeah,
16.
I'm not sure about Suriname, but in the States, it's legal,
I think it's sophomore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, don't be a bum. Go to school. Stay in school.
Yeah, stay in school, kids.
So another movement was temperance. Oops.
Ooh, this is what Mrs. McGarrett's tease is about. Tease. Like a tease.
Tease, I got because it's pretty good since they spoiler, but tease makes better, right? And this was that there's a mass amount of drinking in the United States during this time. In fact, even children drank.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of children. Like there would be kids from 6 years old. They'd be drinking
a glass of
beer. Yeah. In fact, they've done studies, and these studies say that the average child during this time, I believe, would drink as much as the average American does now. Adult American. So kids would drink more than like the average.
To get drunk?
No, just because that's what their parents would give them. The parents would give them it because either they didn't have clean water or they didn't want to try to go out to get clean water. And there's a lot of times just a very quick thing you give your kid. It kept your kid quiet, right? If you have 6 kids, it's a lot easier to take care of them if they're all a little bit on the tipsy side.
Is it? I feel like that would be horrible.
Well, no.
Have you ever taken care of a
if a kid's on pain, they're supposed to anyways.
Oh, pain.
So, but a lot of these are also caused by men who would become drunk. They'd beat their wives. They'd do terrible things at the house instead of coming home after work, or if they would lose their job because of drinking. So this is really one of the first woman-led movements. We've talked. They would be this temperance thing of women being like,
power.
we need to get rid of drinking. And the large American Temperance Union, was the largest group that encouraged sobriety, which means not drinking. And they would go around and they'd get men to swear off alcohol. Be like, hey, if you want to marry me, you can't ever drink. And they would have catchy slogans like, lips that have touched alcohol shall never touch mine. Something like that.
That is not as I thought it was gonna like
It was a
rhyme.
lot. It is a lot more catchy. I
Like
don't
lips
remember it.
won't kiss if there's.
No. I don't know. It is a lot more catchy than that. People would go and destroy bars. They'd have this big thing about temperance movement. I'm against it. Another one is abolition, and this is a very important one because we've been talking about this to this lead up to the Civil War. And abolition is this reform movement that wants to abolish slavery. They want to stop slavery, and it starts growing around this time. It becomes huge. It becomes a national thing.
Not in the South though.
Yes, mainly in the North because the South would continue to have slavery, and in the South it was kind of a normal part of the life because they had these big plantations and stuff. But in the northern
That's like
colonies,
a farm.
yeah, the northern states, they didn't have as many slaves. So they were like, why do we need slaves? You don't need them that much. In 1808, Congress would ban the transportation of slaves, so you could no longer ship a slave to the U.S. So that happened way before. But
It's just so weird to me that they banned that, but they didn't ban
yeah,
slavery.
they didn't ban slavery. The idea was at first when they made that law was that, oh, slavery will eventually go away. But then an invention came out, which we'll talk about, which was the cotton gin, and it made slavery a must need because they could also make a lot of money with slavery. Anyways, long story short, Liberator's written. It's a newspaper written by William Lloyd Garrison, one of the first anti-slavery newspapers, become very famous.
You go, Garrison.
Yeah, William Lloyd, Will.
You go, Will.
And anyway, so that's going against the.
Will he win?
Yeah.
Get it?
The last one we're going to talk about is
Yes,
women
is the
demanding
answer.
equal rights. Okay. In the 1800s, women were still second-class citizens. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't have a lot of powers and rights they had today. This reform movement would demand gender equality. They wanted all genders to be women to be equal
All
with men.
men created equal.
Yeah, they wanted it to be women too. Yes.
And Thomas Jefferson wrote that.
Yes.
People compelled him to
Yes.
write women in the sequel.
Okay.
Work. Guys, that's from Hamilton, the musical. Hadis just watched it.
One of the first meetings is at Seneca Falls, and they would have this convention there where they draft this Declaration of Sentiments. It basically says that women should be able to vote and have equal rights as men. It's not fair that we be treated as second-class citizens when we do a huge part at home and at other places, and we are
Tell me
equals,
about
yeah.
it.
And so this
Feel
would
like
be
a
the
second-class
last
citizen.
movement. So we talked about women's rights.
I'm just kidding.
These women couldn't vote. You have the right to vote. Abolition and other things. Temperance. Public action, education. What?
Nothing.
Second Great Awakening. Sorry, I was just kind of going over as a review of all the reform movements we talked about. That really got slanted there. All right, so now it brings us time for Mrs. Magara's tea
Tea
time.
on temperance. Except, guys, this is not tea. It's something more exciting than that. It's pumpkin spice latte because my mom, okay, well, technically it's Jordan's mom if you really want to but I get to claim her, so my mom sent me this from America, and it's Starbucks pumpkin spice latte, and it's in a powdery pack, and I am just in a fall haven. But it's not going to be fall when they watch this.
It'll be fall. It'll be October.
Fall. Just smell it. Smell it, close your eyes.
It
You see a
smells
pumpkin?
Like small. Now let's small. It smells like fall.
Smell like fall. Thanks, Mom, if you
All
ever see
right,
this.
give us the.
Let me give you the
tea.
tea on temperance. So you said that you explained what temperance was, right? Okay. But they had a whole movement of trying. One of their tactics to get people to stop drinking alcohol was they would create rumors about what would happen if you did drink alcohol. So here's just a couple. I'm not gonna read all of
Is
them.
there rumors they'd say if you drank alcohol?
Yeah, so they would say that if you drank alcohol, that drunk people spontaneously combusted.
Just explode.
Spontaneous is like
Can you
random.
imagine just walking down the street, you see someone go bam, like you must have
Yeah.
went out drinking last night.
Yeah, that
shame, shame.
Yeah, that was one of the rumors that people believed about it. Alcohol caused crime against white people. That was another one.
Seems
but
like
I feel like
kind of a racist one, probably.
super racist, but I mean, think about it. This was still, like you were saying, in
Yeah,
the time
they're
of
still slaves,
slavery. Let's see here. Drinking can disfigure your grandchildren. That's how much it would affect you. Is it didn't just affect you. Didn't just affect your children. It affected your grandkids. Like, I mean, some of these were just really...
So, I mean, they meant like a stupid person. His great grandparent must have been woohoo on the whiskey.
Not great, I mean, your grandparent.
grandparents, yeah.
That'd be like if Benji was dumb, we'd blame our parents, but it's not. Yeah. That it would make you fat, which I mean, it's
It kinda
not a
does.
complete
Yeah,
lie,
I was gonna say
but
it
they
does.
said their thing was that they said the liver would like gain size, which is not what happens
It just
because of
kills the
calories.
liver.
Yeah, it just kill. If anything, I feel like your liver would get smaller, but I don't know enough about it. It also they said that it was a colorless liquid poison, which alcohol can be
Slightly is a
poisonous.
poison, yeah,
It is,
so-
but basically there was this one scientist that said that he did these experiments where he inserted alcohol into cats and all the cats died.
Wow, poor cats. That's very mean to the cats.
Yeah. That it'll make you become a heartless murderer, that you'll kill people without feeling guilty.
Huh.
That's what they would tell you. And then the last one was that temperance instruction was necessary in schools, that
So
it
they
needed
have
to be
teach
taught.
people to, yeah.
Which
Instead of saying don't do drugs, you say don't drink and don't do drugs.
I don't know how it is in Suriname, but when I was in school, they had these huge assemblies where it was like, don't do drugs. It was like, and you got pencils, and you even made vows. Did you?
No,
we
I went to
made
private school,
Public schools,
I'm sure
we would
some
go,
schools
and
do
people
it.
would like go to all the different schools, and then you'd like vow to never do drugs in like the 3rd grade.
Wow.
It's like, but wait, what was the other one you were telling me about? There was a piece of tea that Mr. McGarren knew about
mine
Carrie.
was about
Yeah,
this
yours is
girl named
good.
Carrie Nation, and she was this old lady, and I think she had a couple of husbands, but she had this thing where, well, she'd like had a couple, she'd divorced them both, but she had this axe, and she was so against drinking that she would go to bars with this axe and just start destroying them. And she
This
became
isn't a
really
rumor,
famous.
right?
No, she would actually do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
She'd destroy the bars with her axe and like chase people around with an axe, and no one wanted to hurt her because she's like an old lady. Like, what do you do with an old lady with an axe? You can't.
Oh
The cops
my.
would come and they'd be like, "What do you want to like arrest this old lady? She hasn't got that much time left, but she has an axe and she just destroy the bar and close down." But then she got popular, so she would go to a city and a bunch of people would come, be like, "Oh, Carrie Nation's coming!" All the bar people would be scared, like, "Oh no, she's here!" And she
Totally
would come
sounds
with
like
a
a
mob
cult.
and completely just destroy their things. Yeah, and just completely wreck their
Carrie
bars.
Nation?
Carrie Nation,
Sounds
yeah.
like
In
a
fact,
club.
they'd make signs that say in bars that say every nation is welcome here except Carrie. Isn't that clever?
Oh my
Because of
word.
that, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, that is the tea from.
Wait, I have one more question. Was all of temperance like because of religion, or like the things I read? Those were, I mean, if I was a Christian or not
No,
a
it
Christian,
wasn't
I wouldn't
because of-
want to cite
There
like
was some of it
combust.
wasn't religion, but some of it was very much like they didn't. I mean, it was causing these evils. They thought there's a lot of wacky science about it back then. But a lot of people were drinking way too much, getting drunk, and you would go
I mean,
to
you
if you
do-
went to a town
yeah.
back then, and there was a bar or a saloon on this walk, you would walk across the street to walk by the other side because you would never walk by on the side because you might get hit. There might be some bad things going on. It was a little bit more crazy than it is
I mean,
today. Bars are very
alcoholism-
much like more controlled. The guy will tell you like, "Hey, you need to stop if you're completely
Well,
out
they
of
have
control
a
drunk."
cutoff, and
But-
it's past 2 a.m. You
Yeah.
can't do it.
Back then, the guy was like, "No, hey, making my big."
But alcoholism is a real, true thing, guys. Be aware of it, and it's bad.
All right,
Tears people apart.
ready to close it?
It's been
All right.
such a fun ride.
All right, bye guys. I wanted to try to end it like this because I accidentally did this to start.